Oasis Audio presents The Power of Your Personal Impact by Stan Toler. Read for you by John Mclain. Introduction. The Power to Change the Future. What is leadership? It's an influence process. Anytime you are trying to influence the thinking, behavior, or development of another, you are engaging in leadership. Ken Blanchard. You're listening to this book because you want to change the world. Perhaps you wouldn't state it quite so dramatically, but the reason you picked up a book on the power of influence is that you have a vision for your life, or your family, community, church, or country that remains unfulfilled. You want something to be different tomorrow than it is today. Maybe that something is as mundane as having a clean house. You'd like your family or your roommates to pick up after themselves and do the dishes occasionally. You're tired of nagging and you don't know what to do next. Or perhaps you are after larger scale change. You'd like to change the culture in your workplace or see different policies enacted at your school. You may even aspire to end human trafficking or solve the clean water crisis in a developing country. Whatever your dream may be, you've probably already discovered two important things. 1, you cannot achieve this alone, and 2, you cannot force others to join you. The only way to bring real, lasting change to your world is to harness the single most powerful attribute that you or any human being possesses: influence. Methods that don't work. When people long for change, they normally begin by trying two things that are equally ineffective. No doubt you've traveled these roads already. The first is to try to change the world by working harder. We might call this the power of one method. The power of one method. When you see a problem, you say to yourself, I can do something about this. And you dive in with all your energy. You notice the trash along the roadside in your neighborhood, so you stop and pick it up. You want your organization to be more effective and efficient, so you stay later to get more done. You want the world to be a better place, so you become a better person. The power of one approach is well illustrated by the often repeated story of the starfish. According to one variation of the story, a young man is walking along the beach when he notices an older man picking up starfish that have been stranded by the tide, and one by one throwing them back into the sea. The younger man surveys the beach and sees a countless multitude of helpless creatures on the sand. Look at all these starfish, he says to the old man. There must be thousands of them. What difference do you think you can make saving one starfish at a time? The old man nods, then picks up a starfish, throws it back into the water, and says, It made a great difference for that one. The story illustrates the impact one individual can have on another, and it's inspiring at that level. Yet many people who apply this philosophy eventually become frustrated and discouraged. They are moved by a great need, but quickly become overwhelmed by its scope. Saving one starfish doesn't solve the underlying problem, so they work harder, and harder, and harder. At the end of the day, or a few weeks, or perhaps a year or two, they become exhausted, crushed by the weight of an endless need. Some professions have developed terms to describe this, like burnout and compassion fatigue. Working harder will not eliminate the problems you dream of solving. You will only exhaust yourself in the process. And that brings us to a second, equally futile approach. The power-up method. Realizing that the power of one will never be enough, many well-intentioned folks aim to enlist others in achieving the change they hope for. But, as you may have noticed, other people don't always do what we'd like them to do. When they don't, our first resort is often to apply some form of pressure to gain their compliance. We might call
Sample complete. Ready to continue?